Hi, I'm Angela Basolis, actress in The Outwaters.
First question that I wanted to ask you is I wanted to find out a little bit about the background of how you found out about the role, why you took it, just kind of the little rundown of that.
Sure. Robbie and I actually have been friends for over a decade. We met in New York when he was at film school and I was at FIT. We had the same circle of friends. So I have been doing Robbie's projects for a while now. So when he mentioned this role in the Outwaters, I said, sure, absolutely.
And the thing I wanted to ask too is how did that affect the role as far as there's a lot of authenticity in the way the characters interact with each other, and I would love to find out about how your real friendship helped affect your performance on screen.
I would have to say, let me think about this one. I mean, I think that I'm used to Robbie's way of directing. And in found footage, right, the authenticity is so important. So we weren't on a script. So when we are doing these scenes, there is some direction, but pretty much it is really just building off of a real conversation that we would have. A lot of the things going on are very authentic and is just us being with each other kind of in a direction like, hey, this is what we want for this scene. Let's just play it out how we would actually play it out.
The other thing I wanted to find out, was there anything going into this as far as that you had in mind you wanted to take to the role? Any preparation specifically for this role?
I definitely pulled a lot of emotion out for the scenes with the screaming. Um, I mean, it's very visceral and very real. I even kind of choke up when I hear it because I definitely had to pull pretty deep for for that kind of terror. Thankfully, I've never been in a situation that's scary, but definitely had to reach for that.
Bouncing off of that, because you're very right about that. It's very visceral and it just sounds real. That's like the only way to put it. It sounds like really someone would respond if that was happening. That's how I'd be screaming too. So it sounded real. And I would love to find out too how you feel about the effect of the realness of that, even though this is a, far out plot, but bringing that groundedness of the real visceral emotion, how that affects the movie, especially considering it's a horror movie.
I think it definitely elevates it, right? Because, found footage has a lot of tropes. And I think there are so many things that Robbie has done in this movie that elevate the genre, in my opinion, um, down to the cinematography, which is always absolutely stunning. But also this kind of realism in the reactions. And it was actually, we're out in the Mojave filming this stuff at night. So that definitely also brings a bit of realness to it. It definitely felt real in those moments.
Another thing I wanted to ask is what was your familiarity with kind of the cosmic horror subgenre before making this?
Robbie has shown me almost every decent and sometimes not so decent, but amazing horror movies out there. So I definitely have been in this world for a while through Robbie. He is my horror guru.
The next thing that I wanted to ask is, especially in terms of the elevation of this, is like you said, that it's taking kind of the common tropes and kind of turning them on their head. I would love to find out what your thoughts are about kind of how the first almost hour of the movie is just normal. Like you said, it's just like normal interactions,
Right.
and then it just goes like batshit insane out of nowhere. And I would love to find out, what was your thoughts on that when he's giving you these ideas and you're finding out about it, because it's really not. It's one of the few horror movies of modern ones that really is doing something that really hasn't been done, especially in the found footage. There's always the little nuggets of scariness throughout, and then it builds to a climax. But this just turns it on its head randomly. And so I'd love to find out your thoughts about that, especially when you were finding this out for the first time.
I think that lends to the realism though, right? Because there is Sometimes that's how things happen. It's monotony, and then all of the sudden, this is the situation. And, small nuggets or Easter eggs that, hey, maybe something was going on and we should have taken it more seriously. But how many times do you see those kind of videos where people hear something in their house and they go check it out, and 99% of the time it's an absolutely normal thing, but every once in a while it's a completely abnormal thing, and I think that really is the way that these things happen. So I think it just lends itself to the realism and not trying to fall into tropes, and not kind of bending, right, the idea to meet the viewers always. Like, we know that this is what you're used to, but this is what we feel was the story.
And that's a wonderful point, and that segues perfectly into my next question is the fact that this, similar to Skinamarink earlier this year, this is not one that is like bottle feeding the audience of what's happening. Like, you truly have to be paying attention and putting pieces together in your head, and that's what makes some of it the scariest, because there isn't information. There's not of an abundance of information. If, your house is haunted, you move out. If a killer's after you, you run away. But what do you do when you're in this situation? And I'd love to find out how in your opinion, how that translates as far as when it's going to hit the major audiences, coming out in theaters, that kind of thing. I would love to find out your thoughts on that.
I think found footage is definitely divisive, right? There are people immediately who are like, oh, found footage, I don't know, like, I can't handle it. And I think that that's how this one will be. I think some people just won't have the patience, or some people just won't enjoy the more intense parts, but to each their own, and that's okay. But I think if people give the movie a chance and really just see what it is actually trying to be, this really elevated, visceral film, then they might find something in it that they enjoy.
And speaking of found footage, I would love to find out what are some of your favorite found footage movies?
Oh, I really love Blair Witch, obviously, what everyone's going to say. I am a big fan. Oh my gosh, and I'm blanking on the name because it's just one of those moments. I love the found footage, which is the one where they're doing the walkthrough in the hotel. I'm bungling this one. Hell House, is it Hell House? I'm not sure. It's that one, and also the one the Bigfoot found footage movie, which I'm also blanking on the name of. I'm like, these are my favorite movies. Oh, Willow Creek, duh. Willow
There you
Creek
go. Yep.
is so, that scene when they're in the tent in Willow Creek is so scary. That scene absolutely terrifies me. And I think definitely probably had an impact on me in the tent in some of the scenes in the movie.
Well, thank you for taking the time today for me to talk with you. I appreciate it. You gave some great answers. I'm sure people will like to hear this, give a little bit of context to your role in the movie. So I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me.
Thank you for having me.